Hello and welcome to the Weekly Review, a program of Sawasawa Network. My name is Roger Alfred Yoron. I'm the producer and the host. Today we are joined from Rome, Italy by Mauro Garofalo. Garofalo is the community of Sant'Egidios, head of international relations. Welcome to the show, Mauro.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
And before I let you tell our audience a brief background regarding Sant'Egidios' involvement in the South Sudan peace process, let's start with what I believe most of the people out there would like to hear, and that is they would like to hear from you the outcome of the last and the most recent round of peace talks, which took place in Rome starting October the 9th. So what are the outcomes?
Well, let's start from the end then. I agree with you. The outcomes are very encouraging, even though not definitive. We had 5 intense days of negotiation between the government of South Sudan, the ARTGONU, and Soma leaders. Really wanted to start over the process because, as you know, we had a couple of rounds of negotiation, very useful in January and February, but because of the pandemic and also because what happened on the ground, it was impossible for us to go back into talks, into negotiation. Well, we managed despite the limitations of travel and movement, and we had these 5 days of negotiation, which were focused on 2 main things. One is going back to the cessation of hostilities that was in place between February, March, and the beginning of April, and discuss political principles that could pave a common road between Soma and the government. You know that Soma is a non-signatories movement. So 2 documents were issued by the negotiation, which are still confidential. And there is an engagement. This is the first outcome. I think it's very important. A commitment of Soma to fully participate into the CITISAM mechanism of monitoring. So there is already a date in which this will start with a technical workshop, and starting from them, a renewal of the ceasefire. This is the first outcome. The second outcome is that we started, not yet finished, a common declaration of political principle that could, we hope, the negotiators hope, but there is a common hope that could pave the way for a full participation of Soma into the general peace process, which they are not part of so far. That's the 2 outcomes. But just to interrupt you, and it's even more important, the 2 of them, that we managed to bring them together at the table of negotiation, and we started working on reestablishing mutual trust.
Mm-hmm. What about the issues, the internal issues within Soma and some parts of Soma? How are you handling that?
It was not easy to handle. And it was a common knowledge that this happened within Soma. We are not intention to exclude, and we are in no capacity to exclude anyone from the table. So it was a multi-point discussion. We are considering to do this again in the future. The negotiation, even though not everyone is at the table, should go on in all directions. We need, and it was the starting point of our engagement, we need a full inclusivity to achieve good results in this peace process. So we won't exclude anyone from the table of negotiation.
Well, now you can give a brief background regarding Sant'Egidios' involvement in South Sudan peace process, the concern and all this.
Yeah, this is very dear to me because we were friends of South Sudan before South Sudan existed, because we were already in touch during all the negotiation, and we participated to the negotiation that led to the general peace agreement. We were there in 2018 when the miracle of independence was achieved. We were chanting and dancing with them. So it's a long-standing history of friendship. we never lose hope of helping a prosperous and peaceful South Sudan. Of course, history has gone in a different way, but we won't save any effort to help the country we love so dearly. In this sense, the background of this very initiative came immediately in the aftermath of the RARC's, the Revitalized Agreement. We were in contact, of course, with the government, with the National Transitional Council, but also with those who didn't sign the agreement. So an idea came to mind to Sant'Egidio that was also validated by the authorities of the country. Let Sant'Egidio work to shorten this distance between signatories and non-signatories. And so all over 2019 and now in 2020, we are working to provide a space of dialogue between NAS and Real SPLM, SSUF, all the composite or the former composite of SOMA and the government of South Sudan. So this is what we are doing. Unfortunately, but this is true for everywhere else in the world, the pandemic emergency lowered the process.
And also, it is known that also the Holy See is concerned also about peace in South Sudan.
Yeah, the Holy See. What Pope Francis did something for South Sudan that never happened in history before. He knelt in front of the leadership of the country and begged for peace. We, as a Catholic movement, we believe we should give flesh and bones to this prophetic gesture of the Pope. And we were all humbled by what happened in Rome during the spiritual retreat. We even organized a prayer in the Basilica of Santa Maria, which is our headquarters here in Rome, to pray the Almighty to support this peace process. We are believers here in Sant'Egidio, so prayer and working for peace are never divided.
Well, it is true that there is no standard formula for peacemaking, and peacemaking is, in all cases, is constructed and shaped in specific conditions, as written on SantEgidios' website, which a father mentioned that SantEgidios' involvement in the Mozambican conflict indicates that there are certain specific characteristics in the community's handling of conflict and mediation that could be called a SantEgidio method. Our audience, and more especially the South Sudanese who are directly affected or indirectly affected by the war, including the parties to the conflict, may be interested to hear and learn about SantEgidios' method and some of SantEgidios' contribution in peacemaking in other places. So briefly also you could explain to us some of those.
We can't resume in few minutes, let's say almost 30 years of peacemaking, because Sant'Egidio started to be involved in Mozambique at the end of the 80s. But it is true, there is a sort of Sant'Egidio's methodology that is a little bit strange. We are not a government, we are not a think tank, we are not the expression of this or that interest. We are a Catholic community, Christian community. In this sense, what really moves Sant'Egidio to work for peace is peace in itself, is to save populations and civilians from sufferances. And we have no stake in any crisis. We have no economic, military, strategic, or political interest. In this sense, we are perceived as a impartial broker, and this is, we try to save this this nature of us with all our forces and strengths. Sant'Egidio has not, it is true, by the way, every country is different, every scenario is different. Even, for example, to give you an example of one of our last engagement, Central African Republic, that's the neighbor of South Sudan. You are so close, but the situation is totally different for history, for the composition of the crisis, and for the outcomes of the crisis. So how to counter this variety of scenarios and elements? Well, first is to listen to the actors, listen tirelessly to the actors, and make them the real protagonists of the process. We have no magic formula to impose and no lesson to lecture about, first. Second is patience, another element of our methodology. Since we are not politicians or governments, we do not have an expiring date for our mandate. We give the mandate to ourselves, and we can be faithful to a situation or a crisis for decades, while a special envoy or a chief negotiator or an ambassador have a clear mandate. They have to solve one problem in one time frame. We have this patience that is given us by the very nature of Sant'Egidio, which is a community of believers. So
you also believe that you don't encourage competition, in negotiation between parties. I saw that on your website.
That's very harmful to a negotiation, having competition, not only between the parties, but also between mediators. Sometimes it happens that we have to attend a meeting of mediation among mediators to establish who does what. Instead of competition, we need complementarity. We need complementarity and a common base to work all in the same, to row all everybody in the same direction. As Pope Francis said, we are in the same boat in this world. So this is also a guiding principle for us.
Now, talking about the parties and now the agreement initialing or the outcome that there's going to be representation in the CITISAM, the monitoring body for the ceasefire. Is there any idea, is the community aware, because there is division, that is split, sort of, the two groups. There's one group, Soma. There's one group, Soma. Is there any idea how they are going to handle that participation in CITISAM?
CITISAM is an international body. It is a mechanism of monitoring, so it does not deal with the political nature of this or that movement. It deals with respecting ceasefire, and it deals with avoiding violations of the very same ceasefire. So I don't think there is any preclusion in CITISAM to this or that group. It is important for all the groups to work towards not the unity of the groups or the movements, but the unity of the efforts for peace. This is very clear to us as Sant'Egidio, but we make it very clear also during the talks of last week.
So the belief is that all of them will participate in the ceasefire monitoring
But also, you know that in Soma there are different kinds of movements. There are armed movements, but also political parties. Yes. Because, and in this sense, we need in CITISAM, and CITISAM need the participation of all those who have boots on the ground, as you say, in South Sudan. In this sense, we will wait. By the way, we are hosting very soon, I cannot unveil the dates, a technical workshop with field commanders about this.
That's good. The next round of talks under the auspices of Community of Sant'Egidio is said to be, shall resume on 30th November. Does the community of Sant'Egidio have some hopes or expectation from that round of talks?
Yes, we do. As I said before, there is no magical wand in peace negotiation, and there is no magic formula as well. In this sense, even dissenting among them is an element of consent. So we have to find a way to constantly engage the parties in a political talk, because at the very end, political agreement will solve the problem, not only on the ground. So we will continue to provide this neutral and free space for discussing the political principle. Some of them have been already agreed on, still a long way to go, but engaging, but the commitment to dialogue is already a very, very positive element.
We are almost done. Do you have anything you would like to add, or if you don't have, then you could give your message to the people of South Sudan who the most affected by the war?
South Sudan is very dear to Sant'Egidio. They know that they are never forgot in the thoughts and prayer of many people in the world, and I want to assure them on behalf of Sant'Egidio that we constantly pray for them, and we won't save any effort to work for peace in South Sudan. And I'm looking forward. I've been to Juba a number of times, and I'm looking forward to come to Juba in a peaceful and prosperous situation. Our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Garofalo, the head of International Relations, Community of Sant'Egidio, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you for hosting us. Have a nice day.
You're welcome.